Hey Richard, Richard Devine here at the Yamaha launch in New York. It was still a bit noisy because everybody's trying to film their stuff, but you did a great gig earlier where you were using your modular setup and
yes.
Am I pronouncing this correct? It's MODX?
I think they're saying, yeah, the MODX 6.
Or MODX?
MODX, yeah, MODX, MODX or MODX, or, yeah, but I'm using MODX 6 here, which is the smallest out of the family here that you see.
Because your setup here, this is part of your touring rig, right? Or
this
is
yeah.
what you actually use in live?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've kind of modified some things. There's been some changes. I've been doing, getting ready to do a few other shows coming up here, so I switched around a few new modules using the new graphic VCO, the new transistent drum percussion module, which has been great with the new SD card functionality. Been using now the poly module,
right?
Which is the poly, the polyphonic MIDI to CV converter here, the PM01, which is interfaced directly with the poly-in sequencer that you see here. And I'm actually running the latest firmware. I don't know if they've even released it publicly yet, but this has been it's been an amazing sequencer.
Is that driving your show basically now?
This one is, yeah. So I'm able to just play everything and have this system clock basically from here. I'm sending out. This becomes my master clock, and then I'm multing that clock out and then going into this sequencer, which is sequencing the Nord drum, and then I have this sequencing other individual percussion modules as well as other sort of synth voices.
And is that also firing off the MODX?
Yes. What's really great about this combination is that the poly-in sequencer will allow you to, so if I select number 8 here, you'll see that you can select a root note for each key. So if I hold down this key, go to this one, it'll tell me, F2, F3, and then what you can do, here, let me pick a pattern where I can start fresh and say, like, I just picked this. So I can either do a chord, I can hit, go to the top here, so you can select your root note, you can select any note that you want that particular step to be, plus you can do chords.
Right, okay, cool.
So each one of these can be like a chord, each one is to be like a chord progression or,
are we hearing the MODX there? Is that what that's doing?
That's what that was doing, yeah. So my lane number 8 was playing basically in the performance we heard earlier, was just doing sequencing of various different notes that I had arranged that were all in key to what I was playing with the modular. But it's great. You can also do percussive stuff too. I was driving drums. My drum patterns were on pattern number 1 here.
And you're a big user of kind of clock and clock division, so that's your master clock, and then the trigs are coming out elsewhere, right?
Yeah, and another cool feature that they've added to this is for every lane, so if I select, say like here, and I select this one, I can go actually to length, and you can do tempo divisions. I can go there. I can either do multiplications or divisions.
That's pretty cool. But we should probably talk about the MODX.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me. I mean, you've designed a lot of the patches. You were heavily involved in the Montage and now the MODX as well. Sort of the design. And I know you're big on the FM, and that's somewhat. It's quite often undersold a little. Right?
I feel that way. Like I said, I'm not a great keyboardist. I can get by. So what initially drew me, they actually hired me to come on board as an FM, doing FM programming just with the FMX engine, because I've had a long history with using a lot of the older FM analog synthesizers.
You're the guy in the world that gets it, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember, back in high school, listening to a lot of early Detroit techno records, Jeff Mills, and a lot of these people that I was listening to. I was looking in their studios, and they always had these racks of DX7s, DX100s. You see the TX802s and TX81Zs, and I was like, that's how how are they getting these metallic percussion sounds or these bass sounds that had these raw kind of like buzzy edges that were really cutting through. It was just a sound that my ears really gravitated towards. So I was buying a lot of these since late 90s.
Right. Okay. But they were
mid 90s.
Nobody wanted them.
I go to the pawn shop and buy a TX81Z for like $30. $50. They're probably, I don't know what they're worth now. They're probably not worth much, but so I learned FM synthesis on that generation of synths, and that was actually my first introduction to FM synthesis.
Right? Was the 7 6-op, wasn't it? The DX7 was a 6-op. 8 operators is a lot.
It was 8, yeah. And then my first out of that whole family was the DX100,
Right.
which was
Solid bass.
yeah. And it ran on batteries. I used to carry that one all around, and you know, I remember I used to take it on family vacation trips to the beach and sit with the headphones and learn how to program FM sound. So I've had a long history with using Yamaha's instruments, specifically their digital FM synthesizers. So when they approached me about the Montage, I was really, really excited to jump on board and check it out and see what it would be able to offer, utilizing completely newer technologies. And
so, how do you approach FM? You know, because I mean, you know, when you're listening to a synth and you go, "Oh, I know what to reach for to change the sound," because I can hear what's going on. It seems that that's very uninstinctive. It's a very abstract concept, isn't it?
I think it is for a lot of people. Yeah. For me, yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. You know, just kind of like studying other patches, like understanding like how did you do that? Yeah. How do they do that? That's always been my kind of thing. Is I just study the architecture, what someone else did, and then eventually you start practicing things of your own. You start kind of picking up things. That's eventually how I picked it up. And then you could get into more sort of complex concepts once you understand the basics, and that's always how I've done everything, even when it comes to modular synthesis or any other form of synthesis, additive, granular, subtractive. But FM is great because it's so flexible. You know, I always tell people all the time, you just give me a bunch of sine waves and I can do anything.
So one thing you said in your presentation was, you know, that there isn't really anything out there that is as powerful as this.
Not that I've seen so far. You know, with what you have here, I mean, you see here we've got 8 operators. I'm in the FMX engine right now. So each one of these, you've got your attack and decay. Spectral waveforms, you can do all the harmonics, odd, all, for each one. You can mute or solo each one of these as you're editing and change the coarse and fine. Fixed mode or ratios are all labeled here. Then you can switch the algorithms. So, I mean, you have up to, you can look at 88 algorithms, which is just crazy.
I'm kind of disappointed not to see them all listed in the blank space on the panel here.
Like it used to be on the old. I remember on my old TX81Z, you'd have all the you have them like this, just all the algorithms are like printed on the top. But you can kind of see an overview here in the chain.
So it's incredibly powerful. So one thing I wasn't, you know, I saw you reach for it a few times, and I think I knew what was making that sound. Is there any chance? Is it set up? Could you play us?
It was a really simple sound. For me, it was. So this is just like a very simple.
Harmonically rich, but going into a reverb.
Yeah, it's more of kind of. It starts more of like kind of a.
You get a lot of nice harmonics in there, don't you? I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, you can.
I think that's the thing. It's weird that we always used to complain. You know, in some ways, some people complain about the fact that the mini mode takes up so much space in a mix, but FM can do the same, right?
Oh, it can totally, yeah. So now I've got it just as kind of. Like switch the algorithm to and listen.
That's lovely. What reverb are you using there? Is that internal or is that an external reverb?
I'm sorry.
What reverb are you using there? Is it internal or external?
There's a combination of the internal reverb, and I'm also using the Empress.
Okay.
The Empress effects, just because I wanted something that I wouldn't have to keep pushing through the screens to get to the effects page, so that I had access to wet and dry mix. And all this is just a simple reverb. And then I'm playing around with just the decay and release time, and kind of letting like the feedback do a little bit more, add a little bit more of the harmonic like feedback content. But it's fun to just switch through different algorithms and listen to different, you know, different sounds.
Right. A lot's been made of the super knob as well. I mean, which
Yes.
sounds, you know, I mean, it's kind of a gimmicky name, but it's actually incredidly powerful for modulation routings. Which
It's really
I know
powerful.
you're a big fan of.
Yeah, I'm trying to see because see if I can find one of my presets that utilizes the super knob and the FM spiral. Let me see this one. Let me see if this is.
Oh, it's Lalo Schifrin.
Yeah.
Right, and that's because you can do positive modulations across all sorts of parameters in different
All sorts of different ones. Yeah, I'm trying. This actually isn't my keyboard, so I don't know if they. I'm looking for more of my presets in here than I remembered making. Let's see, FM Lullaby. I'm trying to find some of the weirder ones that I did. Oh, FM Landscapes. This was a patch that I modeled after a Super Collider patch that was actually called FM Landscapes, and you basically just hold it and it.
That's pretty generative.
So what's cool about that is that you can see that the super knob is automating. You can actually set automation to automate that, whether that's an LFO, an envelope, or even an envelope follower can control the automation for the movement of how that controls other things.
Nice.
So I did a lot of patches where I would set things to control each other. You get this sort of like cause and effect sort of thing happening. So it just has this more sort of like organic feel to it. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. So you can do some really like clean, sparkly bell tones, or the typical type of FM stuff, or you could really get out there and get into some weirder stuff too. Let me see if I can get into. I did some sort of. Let me see if I can find them if they're in here. Isle of Skye was another one I did, but let's see here if we can find some more of these interesting ones. Wave Surfer, and then we have.
And you can remember. I mean, that's the thing that's impressive as well.
Some of these I can remember. I have to remember the names, and a lot of them I look back at the sheet and I was like, oh wait, I did do that preset, and I totally forgot.
Okay, well here's a question. While you're looking, how do you name your patches?
Just whatever comes to my mind. That's kind of. It could be anything. I'd be just like looking at the wall or a book or something, or my daughter will say something like, "That's a good name for a preset."
Because you need to grab at straws.
I'm horrible at naming things, and yeah, like this one's one of mine called FM Techer. This one's kind of like an Aw-Techer.
Yeah, that's pretty complete, isn't it? So you're just getting into doing this kind of on a live side. Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot going on that one. So, have you heard that one on any records recently?
Probably not.
So one other question I wanted to ask you, I mean, when you're setting up for like a performance like this, I mean, is this a live patch that you're running, or do you kind of create a patch for each instance that you're doing a performance? And if so, how long does it take?
It's different every time. It depends on the show, how much time that they've, how much time they've given me to play. If it's an hour, 45 minutes, or if I can play longer, I'll kind of tailor the set, a new set every time for the performance. And I usually spend a couple days beforehand preparing and running through it and figuring out what I'm going to do and stuff like that, just to make sure I'm prepared. I work better if I do that way. I've often tried to do things just on the fly, and it never really worked with the modular. There's so many things that go wrong.
Yeah, it's like, oh dear, that's the wrong thing to have done.
Exactly.
Now what do I do?
Exactly.
Richard, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Nick, for interviewing me. It was really nice to hang out again.